Every Jedi Force Ability, Part 1. Number 1. Force Push. There's a reason Jedi don't need to shout commands on the battlefield. With just one motion, a Jedi can blast back enemies, break steel doors, or clear an entire battlefield in seconds. And for the first time you see it, it low-key doesn't seem fair. That's Force Push, one of the most iconic Jedi abilities, and also one of the most misunderstood. Because yeah, it looks like a simple pushback, but it's way more than that. It's about intent, precision, and control. In Revenge of the Sith, Obi-Wan and Anakin were locked in a lightsaber clash on Mustafar, but when they decided to use Force Push, they clashed at the exact time, and it caused a force of power so intense, it launched both of them across the room. Then there's the Clone Wars, where Jedi used it as both a weapon and a shield. Plo Koon deflected an entire column of battle droids with a single wide-range blast. Ahsoka Tano sends enemies flying from rooftops with clean, mid-air swipes. Mace Windu, he once used it to crush droids into walls like tin cans. And Cal Kestis in Jedi Survivor didn't just knock enemies back, he redirected missiles mid-air, freezing them with stasis and launched them back at the stormtroopers. Some Jedi like Kit Fisto even use it underwater. But what really separates Jedi from Sith here is restraint. Yoda could have flattened Dooku with a wave of his hand in Attack of the Clones. Instead, he used Push to hold back falling debris, protecting Obi-Wan and Anakin rather than pressing the advantage. That's the core of it. Force Push reflects the Jedi's heart. Same hand, different intent. Number 2. Mind Trick. It works by bending someone's perception of reality just enough to make them believe an idea that wasn't theirs. It's not mind control. Not exactly. Just a whisper that feels like their own thought. In A New Hope, Obi-Wan raises his fingers and calmly tells the stormtroopers, "These aren't the droids you're looking for."
These aren't the droids you're looking for.
These aren't the droids we're looking for.
And it worked. They let him and Luke pass without thinking twice. But it only works on people who are weak. Droids and highly trained minds are immune. In Revenge of the Sith, Obi-Wan tried using it on Commander Cody's troops, but it didn't work. Why? Because clone troopers were conditioned to resist manipulation from the start. Same with Jabba the Hutt. In Return of the Jedi, Luke tried the hand wave on him. Jabba just laughed in his face. Some minds are just too strong, or too stubborn. That's why Jedi are cautious of overusing it. It's not guaranteed, but when it does work, it can bypass entire battles, disarm enemies, escape prisons, or walk straight into an Imperial base without setting off a single alarm. In the Clone Wars, Jedi like Kanan and Ahsoka used it not just to survive, but to manipulate complex negotiations. Even in Obi-Wan Kenobi, the series, Ben used it to escape lockdown in the Inquisitor stronghold. It's not the loudest ability, but sometimes it's the one that saves everything. Number 3. Force Speed. Force Speed is one of the most underrated Jedi abilities. You don't see it often, and when you do, it's over in seconds, but that's exactly the point. It's not about showing off. It's about escaping or making a move before your opponent even knows what's happening. In The Phantom Menace, Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon were sprinting down a hallway, but the moment they saw destroyer droids ahead, they vanished in a blur. Force Speed doesn't just make you run fast, it enhances the entire Jedi's body, reaction time, reflexes, muscle efficiency, focus, all for a few seconds. In the 2003 Clone Wars series, we see Jedi like Mace Windu and Yoda using Force Speed to dodge entire barrages, run across walls, and even block blaster bolts mid-sprint. In the same series, Anakin used it during his duel with Asajj Ventress on Yavin 4, sprinting across a collapsing structure mid-air just to reach her before she could escape. Here's the catch, Force Speed isn't sustainable. It burns energy and pushes the body to its limit. That's why you don't see Jedi sprinting at lightning pace for minutes straight. It's like a trade-off, a few seconds of Godspeed for a huge cost. Too much, and it's most likely a death sentence. But what if speed isn't enough? What if the real threat isn't what you see, but what's still coming? Number 4. Now Force Sense or Precognition steps in. A Jedi doesn't just react faster, they feel danger before it even happens. In Attack of the Clones, Anakin ran out of Padme's room seconds before an assassination droid strikes. He didn't hear anything, he didn't see it, he just knew. Yoda sensed a disturbance across the galaxy the moment Order 66 began without anyone telling him nothing. It's just the Force sense. But there's more. Obi-Wan felt the death of Alderaan from across the stars. Luke reached out and felt Leia in distress, and in The Force Awakens, Rey sensed Kylo's presence before he ever spoke. It's like standing in still water and feeling a ripple from miles away. The deeper a Jedi's connection, the wider that ripple becomes. It's how they avoid ambushes, how they deflect blaster bolts without looking. It's how Kanan, even after going blind, could still fight flawlessly because he no longer needed them. As funny as that sounds, it's true. In moments of extreme focus, this sense turns into precognition, brief flashes of the future. In Revenge of the Sith, Anakin saw vivid visions of Padme dying in childbirth, and Luke saw his friends in danger on Bespin. Whether these were true prophecies or manipulated illusions depends on who you ask. But precognition isn't always a blessing, it's a burden. The more you try to stop the future, the more you risk creating it. That's how Anakin fell. He tried to save Padme and lost himself. So yeah, it seems like a cool ability. Seeing future events actually does, but it could affect the things you'll do and you could end up pulling the wrong strings. And number 5, Beast Control or Animal Bond. Beast Control, sometimes called Animal Bond, is the ability to calm, influence, or even command animals through the Force. It's not about domination or control, it's about trust, the ability to connect with wild animals so deeply that they listen to you. In Attack of the Clones, Anakin was chained in the Geonosian area, facing a rampaging Reek. Instead of panicking, he reached out through the Force, and within seconds, he was riding it across the sands. Then, years later during the Clone Wars, he did it again, calming and riding a flying massive dragon called Kiradok into battle during the Siege of Onderon. And then there's Ezra Bridger. In Star Wars Rebels, Ezra bonded with Lothcats, conver birds, spiders, and even a giant Tibidin. But it didn't come easy. Ezra failed again and again until he stopped trying to control them and started listening. Later in the series, Ezra connected with the legendary Purrgil, a massive space-traveling creature. It's that bond that ultimately saved the Ghost crew in the finale. You'll see the same instinct in Cal Kestis as he calms predators mid-battle, or Rey when she faced down the wounded Vexus Serpent on Pasaana in The Rise of Skywalker. The creature coiled, ready to strike, but she lowered her saber and extended her hand to it, and the moment it felt the connection, the threat disappeared. That's just how it works. But the power isn't limited to Jedi. Force-sensitive beings from different eras have used it, but when Jedi do something, they are just built different. Number 6. Force Heal. This is the Jedi at their most powerful. Not when they fight, but when they give up a part of themselves to restore a part of others or even bring someone back from the edge of death. Force Heal is a quiet ability, just a hand placed gently over a wound, and life is transferred through the Force. It's rare, difficult, and deeply tied to a Jedi's emotional state, because picking the choice to heal is tied to compassion. The most surprising use in modern canon was by Grogu in The Mandalorian Chapter 7. Greef Karga was dying from the poison in his veins. Everyone was panicking except Grogu. This little guy just stepped forward, raised his hand, and placed it on the wound. He was silent, focused, and this strange glow appeared as the bite mark slowly closed. Most of them around must have been really confused, but when Greef breathed, they were amazed. And then there's Rey. First, she used it to heal the wounded Vexus Serpent on Pasaana. We've talked about this creature in Animal Bond, but before she could even control it, she healed it when she sensed its pain, which gave her the edge to bond with it. Even in The Rise of Skywalker, during the Ruins fight, Rey mortally wounded Kylo Ren. It was over for him, he was literally dying, but as she looked down at him, the man who chased her across the stars, something shifted. She reached out to him and gave him a part of her life force, not for leverage, but because she chose to, and that moment changed both of them permanently. What makes Force Heal special isn't just the power, it's the cost. Healing through the Force pulls energy from the Jedi themselves. The stronger the injury, the higher the price. When Rey brought Ben Solo back from death, she died doing it, and he gave his life to restore hers. It's not just healing, it's a sacrifice. That's why I call it the most powerful Jedi power. Next at number 7 is Telekinesis. This is the Jedi's signature move, the one ability they all train with from the start and the one that reveals the most about who they are. Telekinesis isn't just about lifting things, it's how they can push, pull, suspend, or crush anything the mind can focus on. But the key isn't what they lift, it's why. In The Empire Strikes Back, Luke's X-Wing sank in the Dagobah swamp and he panicked. He tried to lift it, strained with everything he had, but failed. Then Yoda just walked up, breathed, and calmly lifted the entire ship out of the water like it weighed nothing. Luke said, "I don't believe it." Yoda just replied, "That is why you fail."
I don't believe it.
That is why you fail.
This wasn't a moment about strength. It was about belief, focus. There are other scenarios and ways Jedi used this in the Clone Wars, where Obi-Wan lifted rubble off a civilian during an attack. Ahsoka guided herself mid-air during a jump. Mace Windu disarmed an enemy with a flick of his hand. Even Kanan Jarrus, blind and outnumbered, could still throw stormtroopers with clean, focused bursts. But telekinesis isn't just a show of strength. In The Last Jedi, we see the flip side. Rey, filled with grief and panic, accidentally cracked the rock beneath her during training. We also see this in the Clone Wars, when Luminara Unduli deflects tiny bolts in midair with a hand gesture. Or in The Last Jedi, when Luke, not even physically present, brushed dust from his robe after Kylo's barrage of fire. Telekinesis low-key just feels like a flex. Number 8. Force Barrier or Force Protection. There is always a situation where combat might really be a dumb move to make. Sometimes the best move might be to hold the lines, cause that could be the last chance for survival. Force Barrier is a Jedi's ability to create an invisible shield between themselves and danger. It can block blaster fire, explosions, even force attacks. In the final season of Rebels, Kanan stands on a fuel depot as it explodes around him. The fire rushed towards its friends, Ezra, Hera, and Sabine, and with one motion, he throws up a force barrier behind him, not to save himself, but to hold the blast back just long enough for them to escape. His eyes met Hera's, and then he was gone. It's heartbreaking scenes in Star Wars, but it's exactly what this power is about. Sacrifice. It's not flashy, it doesn't get a lot of screen time, but Force Barrier is the kind of ability that shows up when everything else fails, when it's not about fighting anymore, just protecting the people who still have a chance. In the High Republic era, Jedi like Avar Kriss and Keeve Trennis use advanced variations of this technique, shielding entire groups from deadly explosions or force storms. Some even expand their barriers to protect others mid-flight, stretching the ability to its limits. Even in the Clone Wars, Luminara Unduli holds back falling debris during a temple collapse, keeping clones and younglings alive long enough to escape. She wasn't thinking about power, she was thinking about duty, because Jedi are protectors. This is what makes Force Barrier so different from something like telekinesis or push. And it's not just physical. Some Jedi evolve this power into something internal, a mental or emotional barrier, a way to resist manipulation, fear, even pain. It's how Obi-Wan stayed centered as he watched Anakin fall. It's how Luke resisted Palpatine's hatred, not by lashing out, but by holding on. So yeah, it's not the most dramatic ability, but I would rank it among the top tier abilities. Number 9. Battle Meditation. It is one of the rarest Force abilities in the Jedi Order. It doesn't launch enemies into walls or heal wounds, it doesn't even look like a power, but on a battlefield, it can change everything. At its core, Battle Meditation is a mental link. The Jedi reaches out through the Force and calms the chaos of war, aligning troops, boosting morale, clearing fear, and tightening communication without uttering a single word. The best known example is Bastila Shan during the Jedi Civil War. In Knights of the Old Republic, Bastila sat at the heart of Republic Fleet Command with her eyes closed and body was still while an entire space war was going on around her. But through the Force, she was everywhere. She aligned formations, strengthened her allies, while the enemies got divided, all because one Jedi was holding the battlefield together with her mind. But this isn't just some game mechanic. Battle meditation comes with a cost. It's physically and emotionally draining. The larger the conflict, the harder it is to maintain. Bastila eventually fell to the dark side, worn down by the pressure and tempted by how much influence she held. And she wasn't the only one to tap into this kind of focus. Her descendants, Grandmaster Satel, used the same ability to manipulate massive confrontations during the Old Republic Sith Empire conflict, guiding multiple battlefronts with near telepathic control. Even in the High Republic, we see whispers of this power being used to maintain unity between Jedi outposts like a calm voice in the back of every mind, reminding them to fight with purpose, not panic. But here's what makes it so Jedi-like. Battle meditation doesn't control people. It doesn't override free will. It amplifies clarity, removes fear, sharpens instinct, and silences doubt. It makes others the best versions of themselves. But like any powerful ability, it can be twisted. This power can collapse into battle manipulation, spreading confusion, rage, and dread across enemy lines. That's what Sith Lords like Darth Malak tried to imitate. but they always missed the point. True battle meditation is a Jedi art.